Alright guys, no time for talking headshots. Set those flamers to purge. We got 6 minutes to paint some aggressors. I've had this easy build kit sitting around for quite a while, and I figured it's probably time to get around to it. I'm not really sure why, but for some reason the Gravis armor just never really looked that good to me. After I got about a third of the way through these guys, I hit a bit of a roadblock, and then I went on Facebook, asked for some inspiration, and then got some really good pictures and examples from the community that helped push me across the finish line. These little glass bottles have really become my favorite painting handle. The weight of it, the way it sits, and these nice little lips at the very top all give it a really good feel. For the Zenithal Prime in the base coat, I'm doing pretty much the same technique that I used on my 30-minute mini. It's just black undercoat, white Zenithal, brown laid down for the shadow, and then red for the base armor color. For all the gold accents, I'm going to be laying down a base coat of copper. Then later on I'll come in with silver and do my highlights. I've really only got the flamethrowers on here because that's what came in the easy kit. If I was gonna go back and buy the real thing, I'd probably go ahead and do the bolters. They'll probably wind up being an area denial type unit. If they even get on the table, that is. For all the browns, we're gonna go with light umber. That's going to be used on the skull, the ropes, the purity seals. Then to give it some depth, some visual interest, I'm just going to start tinting that brown with white. I did 2 passes like that, just gradually increasing the white level. I picked these guys up because I was walking around and saw a Warhammer store. Didn't really need anything at the time, but I figured I'd pop in. Unfortunately, I didn't know they didn't come with the bolter option. But it's a pretty safe bet. You can always find a place for a flamethrower, or 6. For all his tubes, I'm just base coating in silver, and then for the underside of the tube, I'm adding a little bit of black into the silver to create a shadow. I realize this varnish is a little heavy-handed here, but if you're spraying inside, wear a mask. The gloss varnish I just put down really helps out when it comes to this. It really helps the wash find the recesses, and just helps keep it from staining those surfaces. Alright, since it's a tabletop model, it's going to get tabletop highlights. I used to not give edge highlights to my normal troops, but after seeing the difference, as you can see here, I think it's worth the extra little bit of time. The initial highlights were laid out in orange. I'll then come in with white and just pick out some of the extreme highlights. For the lenses, I started out base coating the entire thing in yellow. Then I came in with some thinned down green and tried to get it on the lower rim. After that I put white in the center, just to make it really vibrant, and then a final green wash around the edges to try and get a little bit of OSL from the lens. For me, it's little touches in the end that make it special, so I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of freehand on the shoulder pad. Just a little goblet for the blood drinkers. Stuff like this really isn't difficult and is pretty achievable. I just start laying it in, pushing it back and forth, and playing with it until I figure out what looks right. Now I'm putting on one more coat of varnish to help protect that model, and onto the bases. I already had a whole bunch of these halfway done, so I just grabbed some 40 mils and finished them up. I wanted to make sure that base rim was really nice and smooth, and then I came in and put a little bit of flock on to add some color. And finally made some holes and got these guys glued on. Normally I'd drill and pin, but since they've got that little peg in the foot, I just decided to use that instead. I'll tell you what, it feels good to be done with these guys. I really wasn't looking forward to them. Like I said, the Gravis armor just isn't my flair, but I did really like the way they came out. I think the red's really rich, and there's enough other colors in there to make it interesting.